I'm Jerry Hafer. I represent AMAC and the AMAC Foundation. The AMAC organization is the Association of Mature American Citizens, and we are the fastest growing senior advocacy organization in the country. We represent 1.3 million American seniors. Our representatives are active throughout the year in Washington, making sure that our members' interests are represented and making sure that their elected officials are aware of what our seniors really want and need. We advocate for action in areas like Social Security, Medicare, health care, and general retirement issues, and that's what we do. The AMAC Foundation is the association's nonprofit affiliate. The foundation was formed 4 years ago with a clear mission of serving and educating America's seniors. That's the mission of the foundation. From that 4-year-ago startup, we've accomplished quite a bit. From some of the foundations of the activity in the 4 years that we've been an organization include staging of a major healthcare symposium in Washington, D.C. We've also produced a publication called Who's Who in Social Security, which was a major publication for anyone interested in contacting Social Security. It was sort of a roadmap to all of the people involved in Social Security. It was a very well-received publication. The foundation also operates 2 information-packed websites, and there are the addresses of those websites. I would encourage you to take a look at those. They are packed with information about Social Security and Medicare. We update those every day, 7 days a week, and we include breaking news, all breaking news about Social Security, legislative changes, that sort of thing, retirement options, retirement suggestions, that kind of thing. Medicare, the same thing, breaking news about Medicare. These are good resources to stay current on what's going on in those areas. And we also conduct a senior-oriented seminar series, and we cover usually 1 or 2 topics a month on topics of interest to seniors, things like preventing senior fraud, aging into Medicare, what do you need to know, Social Security basics. We do seminars even on some technical issues like understanding cable options. Again, these are all areas that are important to seniors. We cover these in our seminar series. We also conduct a Social Security advisory service, and that's a service that we are extremely proud of. We started our Social Security advisory service two years ago. And in that time, it's a service where people can call in or email us with a question about Social Security, and we will analyze that question and produce a researched answer that's credible. And in the first year of operation, we averaged about 25 cases a month that we handled. And in 2017, it really began to take hold, and we're now doing about 300 inquiries a month. And we have 4 Social Security advisors, certified Social Security advisors, and I'll introduce them in a minute. But I wanted to just cover a little bit of the background of what we're doing in that service. And we also very recently extended that service to a new offering called Ask Rusty. Every week we issue a column, if you will, of a question that we have answered, and we cover in that column the actual answer that we produced. It's a well-researched answer. We issue that column to 7,000 media outlets across the country. And from there, the Ask Rusty column appears in either blogs, financial newsletters, or even newspapers. This is an example of what they look like when they appear in a newsletter, and this is from Ketchikan, Alaska. So we are proud of the reach that we have, and as I said, 7,000 outlets get this every Wednesday. And I'm also pleased to report that Rusty is with us today in the form of Russell, and I'll introduce him in a moment. But it's something that has served us well in terms of getting the word out about who we are and what we do. I'd like to introduce our panel for today. I'm beginning with Sharon Kletchka. Sharon's background in accounting and tax preparation covers more than 20 years. She began working for AMAC as a member service representative because she believes in what AMAC stands for and what we're trying to do to accomplish to help seniors in America. She loves working with the public, and she loves being able to help people, and she is just a delight to work with. Russell Glure. Russell started his professional career in computer technology at Pan American World Airways in New York City and later worked for American Express Company and subsequently headed IBM Global Services Worldwide Quality Assurance Program. Russ joined AMAC in 2013 where he provides assistance to seniors dealing with individual Social Security benefits questions. And Eileen Cook. Eileen worked in a variety of positions in the healthcare industry before joining us at AMAC. Her career features over 30 years of experience in healthcare, ranging from clinical work in the home healthcare industry to financial positions in 2 leading nonprofit hospital systems, and included a tour of duty as a pricing specialist negotiator at a Blue Cross and Blue Shield health insurance company. Sharon, Russ, and Eileen are all certified Social Security advisors, certified by the National Social Security Association. And they're going to be sharing their wealth of knowledge with us today on a variety of questions. The questions that we'll address in this first hour are drawn from our database of questions that we've received and that we've responded to. I'm going to ask you to hold your questions until the second hour. The first hour is going to be about the questions that we have received, and then we have the answers. We'll show you exactly how we responded to people with those questions. Later on, we'll cover some situations that will illustrate to you how being better informed about Social Security can boost your benefit. We'll illustrate how, through a clearer understanding of the rules, we've helped some people recover some money that was due to them from Social Security. At the end of our scheduled time, then, we'll take questions. I will also review how folks take advantage of the Social Security Advisory Service, and then we'll take questions from the floor. With that as a scope, I'd like to get into our discussion on key Social Security issues. I'd like to kick it off by covering a general question that we get repeatedly, and many of you have probably heard it from time to time. And it goes like this. I heard Social Security is going bankrupt. Has anybody ever heard that? I'm sure it's a common thing. The myth is that Social Security is on the verge of bankruptcy. The reality is that as early as 2021, Social Security will be in a situation of paying out more than it takes in. Up until that time, it's the reverse. Social Security is taking in more than it's paying out. And those funds, in addition, what is not paid out is accumulated in the trust funds. The shortfall after 2021 will be covered by that trust fund until the trust funds are depleted, and the current projection is 2034 is about when that will occur. So in 2034, there'll be a situation where Social Security can only pay out what it's taking in. And by then, it's expected, actuarially, it's expected that there will be a 23% reduction in benefits if nothing happens. And so that's the reality. Social Security, by design, will never be bankrupt. It will always be income coming in and benefits going out, but the benefits will be reduced to the level of what's coming in by 2034. That's the projection. Another way to look at this is if you consider the income that comes into Social Security, it comes in through payroll taxes, interest income, and taxes on Social Security. People that work while they're collecting Social Security are taxed. Those 3 items are where the money comes from to pay benefits. And up until 2021, the benefits that are paid are actually less than the cash coming in. Most of the income to Social Security is from payroll taxes, about 87 or 88% of it. But in 2021, then the balance shifts and the trust funds will begin to fund the shortfall. And until 2034, when the trust funds are depleted, benefits will continue as promised. So when we explain this to people, we talk about why this is happening. And there are 2 fundamental reasons for it. The first one is that when Social Security was created and put into effect, there were roughly 42 people working for every person drawing benefits. Today, that's 2.8 people working for every person drawing benefits. Another problem is, or another factor, I should say, is people are living longer. That's a good thing. but it also means more years drawing Social Security benefits. Back in the 40s, 30s, and 40s, when Social Security was put into place, the average lifespan was into the late 50s, early 60s. Now people are living statistically into their 80s, and so it's more years to draw benefits. And so that explains there's more coming out of the system. So again, if no action is taken, the trust funds will be depleted in 2034, and that's when the reduction in benefits would occur. But we believe, we're optimists at AMAC, and we believe that there is help on the way, there is legislative correction on the way. We are actively advocating for a solution to the issue. We have recently worked on a Social Security proposal that we're hoping to get into a bill, a legislative bill, and we took pieces of two bills that are already in Congress and combined that thinking with our thoughts and produced something called the Social Security Guarantee Act of 2017. And we are actively trying to get sponsorship for that. And we believe that with just some minor adjustments and some minor tweaking in the formulas here and there, we can resolve this problem without increasing taxes. That's our goal, and we have a plan to do that. I would encourage you to take a look at the AMAC website, amac.us/Social Security, and you can read in detail, what we're proposing. But I would encourage you to take a look at that, and get up to date on what AMAC is advocating for the solution to Social Security. Okay, the reason I included that up front is because that's one of the more common myths and misunderstandings that we deal with, and there are more. A lot of our questions deal with things that people just believe and don't quite understand, so we spend a lot of time answering questions about them. And we have 6 very common myths and misunderstandings that we deal with month in and month out from the people that call in. For example, a lot of people make the assumption that if they take Social Security and continue to work, the fact that they're continuing to pay FICA tax will result in a benefit increase. And it really just doesn't work that way. Russ has handled this question many times, so I'm going to ask him to elaborate on that one.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. It is, as Jerry says, a very common misconception. FICA taxes in itself does not improve your benefit amount, but kind of indirectly it does. It depends on how much money you earn. If you actually earn enough money to replace any of the years that was originally used to calculate your benefit, it could increase your benefit. But FICA tax itself does not go into a personal account. A lot of times people will think it's going into a personal account. I get questions from people that say, I want my money back, I paid into it. Well, guess what? It's not a personal account, you can't get your money back. Item number 2 up here is one it's actually a sad case. It's a gentleman who was working, God bless him, he was working until he was 73. Why do I say that? I'm over 73. But nevertheless, he was working until he was 73 and said, I'm going to stop working and I want to start collecting Social Security. So how do I do that? Well, of course, the first thing that I said to him is, well, why aren't you collecting Social Security? Because at 70, your benefits don't grow anymore. So essentially what happened is he lost 3 years worth of benefits by not taking them at the maximum age. In his case, it would have equated to about $75,000. His wife, who had never worked, was also entitled to spousal benefits, and therefore she also lost 3 years worth of spousal benefits, probably around $35,000. So it was really kind of a sad situation. The good news is that we were able to advise him that he can get 6 months of retroactive benefits. So he was able to apply for that, and he and his wife both got 6 months of retroactive benefits. A nice lump sum. Nevertheless, it doesn't make up for the $100,000 or so that they lost. So very unfortunate. This one, actually, I'm guilty of myself because I take Social Security, and I worked like heck the last 5 or so years that I was collecting because I thought that my Social Security benefit would be based upon the last 10 years of my working. Not the case at all. Social Security is actually based upon the 35 highest earning years in your career, of inflation adjusted. So that's a very common misconception that we deal with. Another one, it was actually a gentleman who was on Social Security, he was collecting Social Security. He had taken it early. He was 63 years old, and he was injured in a car accident and wanted to know if he could go on disability. And he thought that he couldn't, but the answer is yes, you can. You can go on disability, and guess what? Your disability benefit will probably be higher than the benefit that you are getting because you took it early. Therefore, once he converts to SSDI, when he reaches his full retirement age, will continue to get that benefit. So in effect, what he did was he got a higher benefit for the rest of his life because he went on Social Security disability than he would have otherwise gotten because he had claimed early. Now, they do adjust it for the years that you collected. Nevertheless, it was higher. I get all of the time, we all do get it all of the time, where, hey, I'm 65, I'm going to go on Medicare, so therefore I've got to go on Social Security. You do not have to go on Social Security at 65 when you sign up for Medicare. Very, very common misconception. And this one here, usually, number 6, usually comes in the form of ranting and raving. I am so sick and tired of all of these presidents, and that includes Obama and Bush, and everybody else has raided the trust fund to pay for wars and all of that stuff. It's just not the way that it works. No president really has access to those trust funds. There is a way that I think, are we going to get into the trust fund? I think so, just a little bit. But the way the trust fund works is the money goes in and the money is used to buy government bonds which pay interest. You saw the interest on the one chart up there. That's the way that that works. So a lot of people rant and rave about it, but the fact of the matter is no president really has access to those funds. It's just, it's invested for interest-bearing bonds, and that interest is used to help keep the program solvent. So I think that covers those. Right?
Okay, thanks, Russ. And that last one, as Russ said, we get that so often, people just calling and ranting, they stole the money from the trust funds. And so we take pains to try to explain how that can't be, and we try to explain really what happens to the money and how the money is used. And the trust fund reserve, which was $2.8 trillion as of the end of 2016, is invested in treasury bonds and government securities, and that produces income for the trust funds. So it's part of our job. We give people the opportunity to explain their frustration, and then we try to, present them with the facts. Okay, let's dive into some very real basic issues. Again, drawn from the database of questions that we've handled in the past 2 years, and we've pulled some of the more common ones out, beginning with exactly who can collect Social Security. How do you get eligible for Social Security? And I know that Sharon has dealt with this one quite often, so I'm going to ask Sharon to pick up on that. So,
all right, who can collect Social Security? Well, of course, the retirees. You must be at least 62 years old. You must have at least 40 quarters, which is equal to 10 years of work to be eligible. For 2018, 1 quarter credit is $1,320, which is a total of $5,280 for the year. You can actually earn all these credits in 1 quarter if your income is high enough. And then you have the spouses of living retirees that are at least 62, and one fact people aren't aware of, if your spouse is receiving SSDI, even if they are under 62, you can actually collect a spousal benefit on them if you are 62. Ex-spouses can also claim spousal benefits if you were married at least 10 years, but you cannot currently be remarried. You don't even have to qualify for a benefit on your own record to be eligible for spousal benefits. Then you have survivors of deceased retirees that are eligible. Spouses must be at least 60, only 50 if you are disabled. That includes current and ex-spouses, unless you remarried before the age of 60. your dependent children under 18 or 19 if still in high school. That also includes adopted children, and in some instances, if they qualify, stepchildren. And one that a lot of people aren't aware of is that dependent parents can qualify for benefits. And then the disabled workers that have worked long enough and have enough quarters. For younger disabled workers, those credits vary with age. And included are disabled adult children if disability started before 22. So whenever in doubt of if you're entitled to Social Security or not, ask, because you may be.
Thank you, Sharon. We can circle back to these later when we do the question and answer part. If anybody has any specific questions about any of these, we'd be happy to go back and revisit some of these. Another question that we get frequently from people is, okay, I'm looking ahead to Social Security. I have my statement from Social Security Administration that tells me what my benefit is. I'd like to know exactly how that's calculated and how that's, what that represents. And the calculation process, if you ask Social Security, it sounds very complicated, but it really isn't. And I know Russ deals with this question, has dealt with this question many times, so I'm going to ask him to talk about the actual process of how your benefit is calculated in very high-level terms.
Yeah, high-level terms is what you have to talk to when you talk about Social Security, because believe me, there's 2,728 rules and regulations in Social Security. So even us who have been immersed in this stuff for years, you just can't know them all. So anyway, I touched on this before. The way that your benefit is first, the first computation that goes into it is your work history. Does anyone here have a My Social Security account, an online account? You have that? Okay, so if you look on there, at least I was surprised, even when I was a teenager, they have a record of everything that I earned. So what they do is they go and they take all of those earnings for all of those years over your working career, and they adjust that for inflation. Adjustment for inflation is surprising because, for example, $25,000 earned in 1990 in today's dollars is actually about $96,000. So in today's dollars, you need to earn that much to replace one of those years in the calculation. So they adjust everything for inflation, and then they take the highest 35 years in your whole working career, and they take that up to the level of contributions that you made to Social Security. And then they add all of that up and they divide it by 420, which is the number of months in 35 years. And guess what? If you haven't worked 35 years and you got some years that you get zero earnings, that gets included in the calculation. So it averages out through dividing by 420. Now, that's, you would think, complicated enough. Well, it's not, because nothing Social Security is easy. You come up with something called your averaged indexed monthly earnings. So what they do is they segment that number, which in this example we've said is $6,000. They segment that number into three parts. This part, which is the first $895, that's for 2018, these numbers change. The second part is the amount between $895 and $5397. And the third part is anything over $5397. Then they take a percentage of each one of these numbers over here, 90% of the blue, 32% of the red, and 15% of the green. They take all of those amounts, then they add them up, and they come up with something called your PIA, primary insurance amount, which in this example is $2336. That means the primary insurance amount is $2336. Primary insurance amount is the amount that you'll get at your full retirement age. If you apply earlier, you'll get less. If you wait longer, you'll get more. It's kind of that simple. Okay?
And right along with that, one of the frequent questions we get is, well, exactly what is my full retirement age? It surprises us sometimes, the number of people that don't really realize what their full retirement age is. Historically and traditionally, it was age 65. Age 65 was that goalpost in the sky. That has been changing, and so the full retirement age now is other than 65. And I'm going to ask Sharon, who handles this one also day in and day out. I'm going to ask Sharon to talk about how you determine what your full retirement age and what happens if you retire early or later, what happens to the number. And another question that we get right along with that is, when should I retire? What's the best age to retire? And our standard answer to that is, it depends. So I'm going to ask Sharon to elaborate on these.
You're doing a great job.
Good.
Your full retirement age is when you can collect 100% of what you've earned in your working lifetime. Originally, before 1938, it was 65 years old. In 1984, it started increasing. We're from 38 to 42. It started increasing from 65 plus 2 months for each year. Then in 1943, from 1954, it stayed at age 66. Now in 2017, for people born 1955 or later, it started increasing again. Once again, it's 66 plus 2 months for each year, and 1960 and later, it is 67. So for people retiring today, your retirement age can be anywhere from 66 to 67. Raising the full retirement age in the future is possible, but it won't affect today's retirees. And then another very common question, what if I retire earlier or later? Well, if you retire at 62, you face a reduction in your retirement benefit of anywhere from 25 to 30%, depending on your retirement age. And naturally, the longer you wait, the more you get. Starting after your full retirement age, you can increase your retirement benefit up to 32%. Once again, with the change in retirement ages, this is going to affect the amount you can earn in delayed retirement credits, because as the retirement age goes up, the reduction for taking your benefit grows larger, and the amount of delayed retirement credits you can earn for waiting to 70 grows smaller. Now, the chart you are looking at shows the example of someone with the full retirement age of 66. They're using a PIA of $1,000. It shows if you take your benefit at 62, you will only receive $750. Your full retirement age, you'll get the full $1,000. If you wait to 70, you'll get $1,320, and you can use the calculator from 62 to 70. Your benefit actually grows by 76%. And so, when is the best age to apply? That is a very personal decision, a decision only you can make, but it is an important one as it will affect the rest of your life. And if you apply early, you may actually receive more benefits in your lifetime, and if you apply later, you will receive higher monthly benefits. And everyone asks, when should I take my benefit? And there is no one best age to retire, because everyone's situation is different. When should I apply? It depends on your health, how long you expect to live, depends on your financial situation. Do you need the money now? It also depends on your marital status and your concern for the survivor benefit because the survivor will only receive the higher of the two benefits available to you. The smaller benefit will go away. And just don't base your decision on taking it early because you think Social Security is going to go bankrupt, because it's not. As long as workers pay into the system, there is going to be Social Security.
And the next issue that we get into, again, frequently from people that contact is about spousal benefits. Sharon touched on it a little bit about survivor benefits, but the whole area of spousal benefits is something that we take pains to explain in detail to people in terms of what spousal benefits are available to their spouse if they die, and can I collect on, I'm divorced, can I collect on the earnings record of an ex-spouse, that sort of thing. And again, Russ handles these day in and day out, so I'm going to ask Russ to take a look at this.
Many people, we get this all of the time, many ex-spouses don't realize that they're entitled to the same benefits as a current spouse, as if they had never gotten divorced, let's say. The only real requirement is that they have to have been married 10 years. And they have to be still unmarried. We've had situations where we have people that have been married several times. Well, for an ex-spouse, that means that they get a choice. All right, they can take whichever one of those ex-spouses yields them the highest spousal benefit. So the key thing there is that you have to be 62, and with a full retirement age of 66, you'll get about 35% of the worker's PIA. Here's one of the things that's very often misunderstood. Everybody thinks you get half of the other spouse's benefit. You only get half of the other spouse's benefit if you have reached your full retirement age when you start taking that spousal benefit. Otherwise, it's reduced. And generally speaking, any Social Security benefit that you take early is going to be cut the longer you wait, except for survivor's benefits. Survivor's benefits stop growing when you reach your full retirement age. So the other important point here is that if you're entitled to a spousal benefit, you only get it if it's higher than your own benefit. So it becomes an enhancement to your own benefit if it's higher. And the spousal benefit isn't only what you get from your spouse or your ex-spouse. It's really if you're someone who has earned your own benefit, your own retirement benefit, that is supplemented by an additional amount to bring you up to whatever you're entitled to as a spouse. A lot of people think that, oh, I get a spousal benefit and I get that on top of whatever. You don't get the full amount on top of it. You only get enough to bring you up to the 50% if you're your full retirement age. Surviving spouses get 100% of the worker's benefit if they've been married for 9 months or more. They get 100%, it's an important distinction, they get 100% of what the worker was receiving at their death, whereas spousal benefits is what the worker was entitled to at their full retirement age. Okay, so for example, someone in the previous chart that Sharon used, where they let their benefit grow to 70 years old and got 132% of what they might normally get, a survivor will get that full 132%, which is more than their spousal benefit is going to be. Same with ex-spouses, they can get a survivor's benefit as well. So actually, more than one person can get benefits off of a single worker. Same as what Sharon was talking about before, survivors can get reduced benefits at age 60 or 50 if disabled. And if they have a minor child that they're caring for, which was the deceased minor child, they can also get benefits earlier than 60 or 50. Dependent minor children and dependent parents, as Sharon mentioned, can get benefits. And the family maximum, there is a family maximum which can apply, which means that, and it changes every year. The family maximum changes every year. But that means if there's more than two people who are collecting from the same worker, Social Security isn't just going to add money onto money onto money. There is a maximum that comes into play here. And it's kind of a funky thing, would you say, Sharon, the family maximum? Yeah, but trust me that it's not just money added onto money onto money. There is a limit to how much a family can earn. So.
And another area of frequent questions we get, we touched a little bit on it in the myths and misunderstandings, but a lot of people claim Social Security, begin to draw benefits, and continue to work. And there's a lot of misinformation about what that actually means to your benefits. So I'm going to ask Russ to cover that as well.
Yeah, I touched on that before with the 35 years used to calculate. It's not uncommon, especially for women who have taken off some years to take care of their children and raise their family, that within that 35 years there may be some 0 years, and that results in a lower benefit. Well, if that person continues to work, for every year that they work and earn money, that's going to replace one of those 0 years. So that could have a tendency to increase the benefit. This is one that has caused people to not take Social Security. In fact, one of my neighbors. If you take your benefits early and you continue to work, if you earn over what Social Security deems each year to be the earnings limit, Social Security is going to take back some of your benefits. In fact, until you reach your full retirement age, let's say the year you reach your full retirement age, for every dollar that you earn over the $17,040, they're going to take back $1. So they're going to take back half of whatever you earn over that limit. And the way they take it back is in future benefits. So you could go some months without getting benefits at all. A lot of people who, I'll talk about this one fellow I was talking to, he had 2 pensions. And he was just embarking on a 3rd career, and it was a pretty lucrative one. And he said, well, why don't I just add another pension in, like Social Security, because he's 59 and he's thinking about taking Social Security at 62. Well, he's making pretty good money now, and guess what? They're going to take back half of everything that he earns over that limit. Immediately he says, well, I guess I'm not collecting Social Security at 62. Now that limit goes away when you reach your full retirement age. After you reach your full retirement age, you can earn as much as you want. In the year you reach your full retirement age, the limit goes way up. 2018 it's $45,300, and the amount of money that they will withhold changes also. It's $1 for every $3 over the limit. Okay, so they get a little bit more forgiving in the year that you turn your full retirement age. But once you hit the full retirement age, work away, earn as much as you want, earn $1 million a year. It's not going to affect you. Okay, so and here's the caveat in here. What they do is if you don't receive benefits for some number of months because you worked and earned over the limit and they've withheld benefits, when you reach your full retirement age, they're going to add those months that you didn't get benefits to your retirement date. So your benefit at full retirement age is going to increase. Social Security's theory is that you'll eventually get back all of the money they withheld because they're going to bump your benefit amount up at full retirement age. Social Security's theory is that. The issue is you have to live long enough to get all of that money back. Okay? So the takeaway here is consider your future working plans when you're deciding when to take Social Security, because working will affect your Social Security benefit. Okay?
And right along with that particular question is the issue of, and this is another question we get frequently, are my Social Security benefits taxable? And I'm sure, if you know people that are on Social Security, you've heard a lot about that. Fact of the matter is, yes, Social Security benefits are taxable, but only if, for example, if you're filing single and you're combined, if you're modified income, which means all of your income, including Social Security, pardon me? Half of your income, including Social Security, half of Social Security rather. If that exceeds $25,000, then yes, it is taxable. And after $34,000, if it exceeds $34,000, then up to 85% of your benefit is taxable. Married filing jointly, same situation, but the limits are once you exceed $32,000, then half of it is taxable, and once you exceed $44,000, 85% of your benefit is subject to federal income tax. The benefits are not taxable, though, if you're below those thresholds. So if you're married filing jointly and your combined income, taxable income, is less than $32,000, then there is no tax. But once you exceed $32,000, then it's subject to taxation. Another question we get is, must I have income tax withheld if I feel I'm going to be into those taxable brackets? And that's an option. You can have income tax withheld from your Social Security benefit if you choose to, but you don't have to. A lot of people that are retired and pay this income tax file quarterly, and that's when you would factor it into your tax plans. So it's an option that's available to you, but you don't have to have federal income tax withheld from your benefit. It's a question we get really quite frequently. We get it as a complaint also. But you know, it's a fact of the way the system works. You are at certain levels, you are subject to federal income tax on benefits. Another one that we get into quite frequently, cost of living adjustments. But we get the questions this way, and we got quite a few of them late last year, early this year so far, is what happened to my 2%? I thought we were getting a 2% cost of living adjustment. And that's a question we've fielded quite often. And they come in on telephone, and Sharon typically takes them. So I'm going to ask her to talk about this particular issue and explain what happened to your COLA.
Okay, the cost of living adjustment. As of 1975, they created the COLA increase on Social Security as an annual adjustment due to a result of inflation. Before then, you had to wait on Congress. We no longer have to do that. Inflation is measured by the Consumer Price Index. We currently use the CPIW, which is the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. The CPI is based on the third quarter of the current year, and it's compared to the third quarter of the previous year. It's actually only based on 3 months, July, August, and September. One thing, if there is a decrease in COLA, it will never decrease your benefit. There just won't be a COLA increase. And any year that the increase is more than 0.1%, a COLA is giving the next year. But one thing you need to be aware of, even though there's a cost of living increase, it can be offset by an increase in the Medicare premiums. And since COLA has begun the annual adjustment, there has only actually been 3 years that you did not receive a COLA increase.
And therein lies the answer to your question of what happened to my COLA? What happened to my 2%? And that literally is how we get the question, like, hey, what happened to my 2%? When they get their statement in January. So that's the essence. We also get quite a bit of questions about Medicare, the relationship between Social Security and Medicare. And you know, Russ alluded to one early on about people that are turning 65 and become Medicare eligible, but they're not on Social Security. What should they do? So we have a series of questions, again, drawn from our database of questions that we've handled specifically about Medicare. And I'm going to ask Eileen to take those. She's kind of our Medicare go-to person on that. So Eileen?
One of the major questions that we receive is, I'm still working, I don't want to apply for Social Security, but I want to take my Medicare. How do I do that? So the best bet, and I happen to agree with Social Security and Medicare, is to do it online. It beats calling up, making an appointment, going down there, and if you don't have all the information, you're going to have to go home, and then you have to go back. This way, if you do it online, you can stop the process and restart, so it's not a problem. So the website location is up there on the screen, and it says apply for Medicare only. And this way, it does not start your Social Security benefits. So. Now, the question also comes up a lot is, I'm 65, I'm still working. Do I need to sign up for Medicare? And that, it all depends on your health care coverage. Now, it also based, if it's employee-based, if your employer is less than 20 employees, Medicare will be your prime. Your other insurance, your group health insurance will be secondary. Now, if your employer is 20 or more employees, you ask your benefit manager to whether or not the group plan coverage is defined by IRS. And unbelievably, IRS runs a lot of stuff, and they will go by, and that's what we go by, the IRS rules on a lot of stuff. And then it comes into question, do I need to take Part D? Well, Part D is voluntary. However, and I get this a lot of questions like this, well, I don't need drugs now. Well, more than likely you're going to need drugs down the road. Unfortunately, that's part of aging. And if you don't pick it up when it's first offered, you will pay a penalty unless you can prove that you have credible prescription drug coverage. And if you have a group health plan or a type, they will send you a certificate every year saying, yes, this is, IRS considers this credible prescription drug coverage. Keep that sheet of paper, because once you go back and your coverage ends and you go to apply for Part D, I've known a few people have say, hey, I got a penalty, but I had coverage. I had, credible coverage through my employer. Did you keep your, oh yes, okay, then you can appeal it. But keep your paperwork, just like your tax forms, everything. Keep it right there because you will need those. And then I have another one is, and we've had, I think in the last 2 months, at least 6 questions from people saying, I have a medical share plan, one of those Liberty Health shares, Christian Ministry shares. And that's fine if you're on Obamacare, accepted that as part of the individual mandate. It fit the purpose, but not for Medicare. Medicare does not consider that credible coverage. And these people, unfortunately, are going to end up paying a penalty because they thought they had credible coverage. So, I had to break the news. I mean, of course, you can always appeal. I tell everyone, appeal, appeal, appeal. You never know. And that's someone, I shouldn't say that from a healthcare standpoint, but since I used to sit on an appeals board, appeal. So take it from an expert. And then the whole question is, what happens when I lose my health insurance? I waived my Medicare, I'm 65, come around, oh, rats. I'm getting laid off. What happens? So basically you have 8 months to sign up for Part B without a penalty. And that's a special enrollment period. However, it should be noted that you only have 63 days to sign up for Part D without a penalty, unless your COBRA is considered credible coverage. But let me warn you about COBRA. COBRA is not considered credible coverage under Medicare. So if you get laid off and you're 65, go sign up for Medicare. Don't wait, because if you wait the 8 months that you can have, or past 8 months, you have so long on COBRA to sign up. You wait at the end, you're going to get dinged with a penalty. So my best advice is if you get laid off or you retire, let's say you're going to retire at 69, and go 3 months prior to your retirement date, go sign up for Medicare and avoid any question of penalty. So.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. That concludes the prepackaged questions, if you will, that we drew from our database of questions we've actually handled. Just to wrap up this part of our morning here, I want to thank you for joining us. I appreciate you being here. This is the first of what we're envisioning will be an ongoing series of these kind of briefings where we'll meet and recap the questions we received for people that, that may have the same question in their mind. So watch for future announcements of seminars like this, and you can You can learn about those. We publicize those, but you can find them on the Foundation's website, amacfoundation.org, on the events page, amacfoundation.org/events. And as we set them up, we'll post them on that page. Again, our Social Security Advisory Service is a free to the public anytime seminar, or anytime service. All you need to do is contact us, and you can contact us by telephone or by email. And if you go to the Foundation website, foundation.org/services, you'll get a pretty clear pathway to how to contact us. It's either telephone or email. And you know, we respond to all the requests that we get. So I would encourage you to take advantage of that service. It's benefited a lot of people. And to stay current on what's happening in both Social Security and Medicare, again, I would encourage you to take advantage of these two websites. They are fully packed with information, and it's all relevant to those particular topics. Early on, I talked about the Social Security bankruptcy issue. There is an article out on the table I would encourage you to pick up and check out. It's a good definition of where Social Security is right now. It's still not fixed for the long term. And we talk in that article about what we're advocating to correct the problem. So I would encourage you to read that. So this is your time to shine. This is your time to throw your detailed questions at us. And as Sharon said earlier, if you have personal information you'd rather not share publicly, just see us afterwards, and we'll talk to you then. So with that, we'll throw the floor open. Questions?
I just wanted to know, when you continue working, it says you can increase your benefit by replacing early career years. Is that something that Social Security checks automatically for you each year?
Well, they calculate your benefit, of course, when they readjust your earnings for inflation the year you turn 62. Then they'll do it again when you reach your full retirement age, unless you retire in between. They'll do a final calculation.
But if you're, say say you're 69, you've been collecting for 3 years and you're still working, do they automatically check to see if your income is enough to replace one of those early years, or is that something you have to ask them?
No, they receive your copy of your tax return from the IRS, but they're usually 2 years behind.
I received expected, what securities if I retire at 62, an X amount of dollars. So say it was $1,000 a month. Is there anything deducted from that Social Security? Like a paycheck would be FICA, income tax, Social Security, disability, whatever. Is there any deductions in Social Security?
No, the only deduction really for Social Security is either if you choose to have income tax withheld, or Medicare when you're eligible for Medicare. But you don't pay FICA taxes on your Social Security benefit.
Regarding the Social Security, the Medicare penalty under Part D, it's got to be a credible drug plan. Is there a listing of credible drug plans, or do you just find out by asking? I was under the assumption I had one through my employer that I was able to keep when I retired, and it's through Cigna, so I just figured it was a credible health plan. How do you determine if it's credible or not? Nobody ever said anything to us about that.
Okay, well, I'm going to let the person who's standing next to you answer that.
Well, your group health insurance should send you annually a letter saying that you have credible health and prescription coverage. But that's why I said always keep those letters. They are so important, especially when you get hit with, because you will pay that penalty the rest of your life on top of your premiums. Larry, you've dealt with that a lot too.
If I can add to that regarding that, if you're unsure exactly whether your Part D prescription drug plan that you have or the drug plan that you have through your employer, you would need to speak to your benefits administrator. So what you actually can do is call your current insurance company and tell them you would like to speak to a benefits administrator, and have them send you a letter, and make sure that it's addressed to you and not a form letter, and saying, yes, this is credible coverage, or no, it is not credible coverage. And that should satisfy what the IRS is looking for. And you can do that at any time, whether you're age 50, age 60, age 62, but most importantly, before you feel that you're going to go ahead and get involved with Medicare.
I'm wondering, is there any site or location where I can find out who is eligible to get my Social Security number? I just moved here, and I've had so many different utilities and companies asking for it, and I'm reluctant to give it out. My father told me like 40 years ago, don't give it out unless you really have to.
Yeah,
Now, I had a situation in another state, and I wanted internet service, and they asked my Social Security. I said, I'm not giving it. And they asked me my date of birth. I said, I'm not giving that either. Well, they gave me the service. I'm like, well, why are you asking for it if I can get it without providing it?
Yeah, well, the Social Security number is one that's been in the news quite a bit. There's been breaches, database breaches, where, you know, I mean, it's a security issue. The fact of the matter is that other than for Social Security purposes, you are not required to give your Social Security number to anyone. Even for health care services, I've already refused to give my Social Security number, and guess what? That's fine. They just want it for ease of identification, but they don't really need it.
Can they refuse to give you service for not providing it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that, you know, they're a public utility. They can probably refuse if they want to, but I would say it'd be worthwhile reporting them, because you're not obligated to give your Social Security number except for Social Security purposes.
And just a side note, the new Medicare cards are coming out starting in April, and the Mid-Atlantic states are the first ones that will be getting the new Medicare cards, and that will remove your Social Security number from your Medicare cards. So once you receive your Medicare cards, I know some people are snowbirds or temporary seasonal people, and you may have a house up in the Atlantic area. You will be receiving your new Medicare cards. You're the first group to receive them. So please use those instead of the old ones.
Yeah, I've never had anyone refuse to give me service because I refused to give them my Social Security number and date of birth, but if they don't want my business because I refuse to disclose that, and to be honest, with especially with Equifax breach, that was like 145 million Social Security numbers and dates of birth stolen. I mean, I've frozen all of my credit reporting accounts. I just froze them. So I'm concerned about security, so I don't give it. I've never had anyone refuse to give me service, but I suppose it's possible. I would probably bump it up a couple of notches at that company. You know, to the CEO even, if you need to.
Good morning. My name is Jeff. Just full disclosure, I work on the political side of AMAC, but I thought for the benefit of the group, this question was an important one. If you were to take benefits early and then pass away before sort of your full life expectancy, you would have, quote, won, you would have done better. And if one lives to be 100, it would be better to wait until full retirement age. But since no one knows when that date of departure from this earth is, my understanding is if you were to pass away right at sort of life expectancy, which is about 80 years old today, it would be exactly equal. In other words, it would make no difference if you took benefits at 62 or if you waited till full retirement age 4 years later and got a higher benefit. Is that so actuarially? If you were to die right at life expectancy, it would have made no difference?
Yeah, kind of approximately. I've done a number of break-even analyses like that, and to be honest, the break point is usually 11 or 12 years. So if you collect at your full retirement age versus age 62, it's generally going to be, you're going to have to live till about 77, 78 years old to be able to get the same amount of money. If you live beyond that, you're going to be better off by collecting at your full retirement age.
An extension of that question is, what if you wait till you're 70?
Mm-hmm.
How do the comparisons break down between full retirement age and waiting till 70?
Yeah, and I've done that analysis also, and you got to live, as a man, you got to live till about 82. What? A woman can live, it'll be 80, huh? 84, I think, yeah.
I'm going on that question too. In the event your spouse and you expect to be married for a while and you expect you might outlive your spouse, is there any reason if I were to know that I were to get his benefit when he passed, if it were before me, why I shouldn't just go ahead and take mine as early as I can? Did that make sense?
If you know that you're going to get a higher benefit if he passes before you, does it make sense for you to wait? Is it? Yeah.
Why wouldn't I just go ahead?
Yeah, I mean that's good. There's good logic in that. That's solid. That's solid logic. If you know that your benefit when your husband's sitting next to you there, you're already planning his death.
I'm not her husband.
Oh, okay. Or at least not anymore. Yeah. I mean, there's some pretty good logic in that. Yeah. I mean, we run into that all the time. You gotta figure out how much money do you need right now. If you need that money early, then you're not going to get hurt by taking it early.
Real quick, you had said that COBRA wasn't considered credible coverage. Why would that be, since it's an extension of your credible coverage while you're working?
For some reason, Medicare does not consider it because you can actually not pay your COBRA premiums for a little while before, and you can have a break, which is almost like 63. But Medicare does not consider it credible coverage. They never really technically went into a lot of that detail. It's just a little rule they have.
They didn't give a reason.
Yeah, sometimes you just scratch your head and go with the rules. I hate to say it.
Anybody I've ever dealt with that has had COBRA missed a payment, cut off.
Yes.
So
usually they are, but for whatever reason, Medicare does not consider it credible. They want you on to Medicare. They don't want you waiting, and usually
that makes sense. I mean, but
yeah, usually in most instances, Medicare is cheaper than your COBRA payment because you will be paying your full premium when it comes to, there's not going to be any employer, and then you also, the employer can charge you 2% holding on for processing your COBRA, so it's actually going to cost you more than you did when you were an employee. So you're better off just, if you get in that situation, apply for Medicare. If you're lucky, you know ahead of time, 3 months. If not, one of the first things after the shock, I'm going to just go and get you sign up for Medicare.
would it be considered credible coverage before you turn 65 to have COBRA?
It doesn't really, if it's before 65, it won't make a difference.
Okay.
It's Medicare's rules. It's Medicare when you turn 65.
Gotcha.
We have a question over here.
Yeah, the Social Security events, it's taxable. Now, you have here modified income levels are exceeded, and you say filing single 25,000 and 34,000. What are those? Does the one number represent Social Security, the other one your pension? I don't know.
No, that's what's called your combined income or modified adjusted gross income. Your modified adjusted gross income or combined income is whatever you earned, okay, your adjusted gross income from your tax return, plus any non-taxable interest, plus 50% of your Social Security benefit. You add those three numbers up, and if it exceeds $25,000, up to 50% of your Social Security benefits can be taxed. If you exceed the second number, which is 34, then up to 85% of your Social Security benefit becomes taxable income.
At what rate?
Whatever your tax rate is.
Continuing on that question of whether Social Security benefits will be taxable, I assume in the modified income would be pension and IRA or retirement payments that are taxable? Yes,
it's anything that's included in your adjusted gross income that goes on line 43 or 46 or whatever it is on your IRS, on your 1040. It's whatever that adjusted gross income is, plus the things I mentioned, 50% of Social Security and non-taxable interest.
And as I said earlier, if you have personal questions with personal information that you'd prefer not to share, just, we'll stick around for a while. Just come up and talk to us. But be happy to Happy to entertain any questions you have. Any others? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.